While the Timberwolves and Nuggets were playing in what a lot of people said was the NBA Finals, the Dallas Mavericks were getting ready to take a 3-0 lead in the Western Conference Finals. They just didn't know it yet, but here they are, a 116-107 lead in the Western Conference Finals after yet another game in which the Mavericks just out-executed the Wolves in the fourth quarter. A 29-20 fourth quarter pushes this one over the line for Dallas. Nick Angstadt from Locked On Mavericks joins me now. And Nick, it does seem like it's too reductive to just say, well, one team had Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic and the other team didn't, but that is kind of how it has felt through 3 games in this Western Finals.
That's exactly what it is, Peter. I mean, you hit it right on the head. When one team has the 2 best players in the series and the other team doesn't have the 2 best players in the series, it's hard for that team to win. And so you can overcome a lot of things. Now, the Mavericks have played well in some instances, not well in other instances, certain halves, certain quarters, whatever. But when it comes down to crunch time, this is a close game. Even a 16-point game in the second half, that's close enough for this Mavs team sometimes. If it's close enough, Luka and Kyrie have out-executed the Minnesota Timberwolves, both the Timberwolves defense, which is the number 1 in the NBA, and some metrics say one of the best we've seen in the NBA. Yeah. And they've out-executed them defensively, too, by stopping Towns, by stopping Anthony Edwards from doing the things and getting the shots that they want. If you just look at the sheer field goals from the 4 stars, Luka and Kyrie, 49%, 63 out of 128 made shots. And Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, 33%, 37 of 111 shots. Yikes. Like that difference right there is the difference in the game. If these are close games, it's coming down to the wire. But if your stars aren't executing the way Luka and Kyrie are, you're just not going to win games.
In some ways, we expect this from Luka Doncic. We've seen Kyrie perform at a high level in the postseason. That run in Cleveland to snatch the title away from the Golden State Warriors, obviously being the prime example. But it's not like that was yesterday, Nick. Like this is a different level that we're seeing with Kyrie Irving, even just in this postseason.
Yeah, this is a Kyrie Irving that has really stepped up. There's something he said on the TNT set that I thought was really interesting after game 1 when the Mavs won in Minnesota. They asked him about last season and like what took you to this level as a leader. He's really stepped up in the leadership category and really has become the vocal leader on the court, in the locker room. Every single player has mentioned his leadership at some point during this run and during this season. And Kyrie said, when we missed the postseason last year, which was an embarrassment for all involved, Mavs with a top 5 player missed the entire postseason. There's 10 spots. There's 10 spots for them to make it. When they missed the postseason, Kyrie said, I sat down on my couch, I watched the playoffs, and I started to take notes. Peter, he sat there like you and I, like watching a game, taking notes, like, idiots like us that have to like learn from each game and all that, not that have played it at such a high level. So he said, I'm learning from the best leaders out there. And he took all that and he put it into this season. And I think that he really has stepped up. I think that he has taken this. I think he took that personally. I think he took the Anthony Edwards said, I'm going to match up with Kyrie. I think he took that personally. And I think he's taking this all to another level. His leadership has really stood out. And when Jason Kidd has leaders on the court, he can be a really good coach. And the Mavs are in a really good position right now.
What if you are a Mavericks fan, are you worried about, if anything, right now, given that we haven't seen Anthony Edwards show up in like full Anthony Edwards-ness yet? I don't know that we should expect Karl Anthony, like this might just be Karl Anthony Towns in all of his Karl Anthony Towns-ness, right? Like that's just kind of the player that he has shown himself to be. But if you're a Mavericks fan, okay, you're up 3-0. No team has ever come back down 0-3. But is there still anything that's like lingering doubt? Hey, we're still a little worried about this.
Oh, every time someone says no one's come back down from 0-3, it's just you're just ready for the jinx right there.
Yeah, the hair is just staying up on the back of your neck a little bit.
You're just ready for it. Everyone's like, man, maybe it'll be this time. That'll be exciting.
Well, Anthony Edwards is leaving open that possibility.
The Timberwolves offense is not the thing to be scared of. They were 16th in the regular season. We're not waiting for this like juggernaut of an offense to wake up. You're supposed to be waiting for this juggernaut of a defense to wake up. They were the best defensive team. That's why they're here. The Mavericks have picked apart this defense. The Mavs hit a game-winning shot over the 4-time defensive player of the year. I mean, and there was a moment last night in the game where Luka Doncic has the ball. He passes it over to Jaden Hardy. Jaden Hardy gets a switch. Rudy Gobert is guarding Jaden Hardy. Second year in the league, had a really mixed season. His very questionable decision-making at times. Young player, still has lots of room to grow, all that. No fear. The biggest balls on the team, probably, maybe even more than Luka. Hardy has Gobert on him, looks over at Luka to give him the ball back, and Luka goes, no, go for it. Go for it. And Hardy takes it right at Gobert, gets a foul on him, and you just see that this Mavs team is like, we've kind of figured this out. We figured out how to play against this Timberwolves defense. And if that Timberwolves defense is not going to show up in an elite way, then I don't know that there is something scary to watch out for. There is, however, the Derek Lively portion of this. Derek Lively goes down in game 3 with the head injury. He collides with Karl-Anthony Towns' knee to the back of his head. He's down for a while. He stands up, and man, let me tell you, in the arena, it was silent. It got so awkward because of how long he was down. There was a "Let's Go Mavs" chant that like organically started from the fans, because it just was like, we can't just sit here in silence, right? Like, we have to say something.
It felt like an NFL moment, one of those when the guy takes the bad hit and everyone's sort of holding
and the
their
cart
breath.
comes out, right? It felt like they should have brought the cart out for it, but then he stands up, and I mean, he's wobbly. There's people texting me saying, I saw it, they were down near courtside, and they're like, I saw his eyes, and it just didn't look like he knew like where he was at that point. And so that's just speculation from people that, you know, I'm hearing from. But so he stands up, he goes to the locker room. He was attendance at practice today on Monday, but he didn't participate in practice. I don't expect him to play in game 4, but if that's going to be an injury that keeps him out for a while, and there is some time before the finals start if it gets to that, but if he's going to be out for a while, he's a big piece to this. And that's one thing to be worried about if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, that all of a sudden you lose that piece. It changes kind of what this team is. All of a sudden you're playing Dwight Powell. You may be playing small ball, which the Mavericks have just not played this year as much as they have in past. Maybe they get Maxi Kleber back, who did participate in practice today, so we'll see about that. But that is one thing to be nervous about.
Stay up to date on the Dallas Mavericks all year by subscribing to Locked On Sports today and Locked On Mavericks on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube.